Hey friends, it's Brian here. I'm going to be doing the final part to my favorite series thus far on YouTube, and I made like over 120 videos across channels. This is my 7-part top 100 favorite musicians of all time countdown. This is the most ambitious series that I've thus far completed on YouTube, and I'm pretty happy about it. I hope you like it. This is the final part to the series, so if you haven't seen it, check it out. I'll probably put it on a playlist in the coming days, so it can be more easily watched, considering it's such a a boa constrictor in terms of length. Uh, but yeah, I think that regardless of how it's become kind of unmanageable over the last week, it's been pretty fun, and I hope that you've enjoyed. Uh, I hope you've enjoyed the top 100 musicians of all time, because I've tried to do a fairly objective job on this list and to make it go across genres and to include other types of musicians such as rappers and reggae artists, and to include women. And I've tried to make this a diverse list. So yeah, going into the final part, I hope you like it. Thanks for watching. Okay, getting into number 94, I believe, would be the Yardbirds. And I've done like a trillion takes of this video, so I'm not sure if I've actually already mentioned the Yardbirds, because I feel like I've said this already. But we'll just say them again. And if they're in the last video too, well then I'm sorry. Sometimes mistakes happen. Uh, the Yardbirds were fronted by a really underrated rock vocalist named Keith Relf, and he actually still sounded good, although he underwent an accident where he received a punctured lung in a motorcycle accident. He still sounded good, even though he had a noticeably thinner and kind of higher pitched voice. Keith Relf, I think, was one of the most underrated singers of the decade, and I think the Yardbirds kind of got swallowed up in the shadow of bands like the Beatles and of the Rolling Stones. Um, I think that the Yardbirds even swallowed up in the shadow of bands like the Byrds, in a sense, and Bob Dylan. I think that they kind of probably received the least attention. Did they even have like a huge hit, like a big time hit? I don't really think they did. At least not to the level they deserved. I think that, like I said, they kind of got swallowed up in the shadow of bigger bands of the era, because it was kind of an era of a lot of big bands. There's a lot of talented bands in the 60s, and they were certainly one of them, but they didn't really receive the airplay and attention that they deserved. Okay, let's get on to number 95, Buffalo Springfield. This band produced several of the future members of Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Um, and I think that it was an important building block group for the 1960s and the 1970s, considering that so many people came out of it. Let's get on to number 96, Iron Butterfly, famous for their 17-minute heavy metal, like, or proto heavy metal kind of masterpiece. I think Iron Butterfly is one of the quintessential not southern rock bands, psychedelic rock bands. Um, and I think that I could put that song on loop for hours and just listen to it over and over again. Um, I would not get tired of it. Okay, let's get on to the next band here. Sorry for blanking out the screen with my stupid notebook. Anyways, let's get to number 97. Former Highwayman, Merle Haggard, I think. Wasn't he in the Highwayman? Um, Regardless, Merle Haggard had a really, really great voice, and he sang about a lot of topics that I think that many country singers in the more traditional vein of things didn't touch, such as his experiences as a man in jail. Um, at the time, I don't think a whole lot of people were willing to kind of touch that topic. But Merle Haggard, he touched it, and he kind of made it his own. He that that kind of discarded by society and thrown off to the side. I think that he kind of made that his own, and he came roaring back with a great voice and a great career. And I think that Merle Haggard is one of the best country singers of all time. Number 98, famous for the song "Time of the Season," the Zombies. I think the Zombies, similar to Bad Company in the 70s, are one of the most underrated rock bands of their decade. And similar to the Yardbirds, they were kind of swallowed up in the shadow of bigger bands of their time and of their era. I think they deserved a lot more attention on the radio than they got. But the Zombies kind of have always been one of those bands who've been swallowed up in the shadow of people like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Elvis. And I don't think that their hits. They had that one big hit, but the Zombies have a lot of other good songs too. And I think their lead vocalist has a really unique, recognizable voice. Okay, we're almost done with it. Can you believe it? You've made it this far, so stick around for the end. Uh, we're gonna get there in just a minute. Number 99 is the Moody Blues. My favorite song by them would have to be "Ride My Seesaw." I have a memory of them actually from like my junior prom in high school, where I actually asked them to play a song by the Moody Blues. Um, and they never did. They just kind of sat there. The DJs were idiots. They just kept playing really shitty, like Ariana Grande and all this modern music. And I wanted to punch somebody. I was so annoyed with them. Okay, let's go on to number 10. One of my favorite modern bands, The Devil Makes Three. I gotta thank my brother for showing me this. They're a fantastic band, and they're kind of an old world band in the modern era. They have an upright bass player. When was the last time you saw that? They have a banjo player. They have a fiddle player. And I think that their singers kind of have the down home quality to their voice. The Devil Makes Three are kind of an old world band in the new world. Um, Anyways, thank you for sticking with me throughout this massively long Godzilla proportions series. We've made it all the way to the end, and this is probably the best job I've ever done coming up with a list of this nature, in terms of not just making it overly opinionated and trying to include some objectivity and some diversity and stuff. I think that you'll be happy with this list if you actually watch it all the way through. And if this part is missing any artists that you are a big fan of, check out the previous installations of the series, which, like I said, I'll probably put on a playlist in the coming days. Uh, Thank you for watching. I love you guys. I'm out.